Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. So we will let everybody hop on here and we will dive in. One of my cats decided that she needs to help today. So I hope you all are doing well. Oh my gosh, let me move this cat. Okay. All right. I am tired. I have to wake up. All right. So 7 o'clock. And we have a lot to cover today. One thing that I forgot to put in the video description that we're going to talk about kind of right out of the gate is the spring equinox. So, surprise. And I have 4 decks of cards crammed on my desk here that I will play with and shuffle with. And we will do card pulls at the end of the energy update as well. So as always, if anybody has any specific questions that they want to ask, they're welcome to do so during the card pulls. And I'll also do card pulls just, kind of like what do we need to know, especially with all this big eclipse energy that we're going to be focusing on. Well, of course, during the live update, but then also for the next couple weeks. Eclipse season is getting ready to start. So all right, so let's talk about the spring equinox. So the spring equinox, equinox means like equal night. It's, Latin. And it is when there is equal night and equal day. And so we have a spring equinox and we have a fall equinox. And the spring equinox is on March 19th this year. And it is at 11:06 p.m. exact Eastern Standard Time. So exact meaning that is the exact time of equal night and equal day. Although, yes, of course, like it will be dark by then, right? I don't know. I don't figure this stuff out. It's just what the internet said. And I trust that because it was on NASA. So the equinox, which is also known as Ostara in pagan traditions, which Ostara sounds a lot like Easter. Imagine that. So Ostara is a time of ushering in spring, right? It is the pagan peoples would celebrate fertility and like blessing their seeds, their crops, their animals, their humans for fertility so that it would be a productive and fruitful harvest. And as we know, we're talking about kind of like old world pagan people. I'm sure they didn't call themselves that. But surviving was essential. And what was essential to your survival was having crops that actually grew and produced enough so that you would, of course, have food and the bounty of the summer, the fall, but then enough food to set aside to get you through the winter. So in the fall, we also have an equinox period. And then in between the equinoxes, we have the solstices. So equinox in the spring, summer solstice, fall equinox in the fall, and then winter solstice. And the summer solstice, of course, is the longest day, shortest night. And the winter solstice would be the opposite, shortest day, longest night. So a little bit of history for you. But Ostara energetically, and if we're talking about really ways that we can apply this energy if we're not maybe fully enmeshed in the agricultural aspect of it, although perfect time to plant your seeds, right? Is really focusing and embodying the energy of what metaphorical seeds or ideas are you wanting to plant for what result, right? So let's say that you are literally planting seeds. Let's say that you are planting your herb seeds, fruits, vegetables, whatever. Ostara is a perfect time to actually bless your seeds, your physical seeds that you have for your garden, to bless them with your intentions. And these intentions could be, of course, for health, for wealth, for love, all the things. And then to plant those seeds. And then every time you see that gentle metamorphosis of, the seeds emerging through the soil, getting their leaves, growing taller and taller, starting to produce the fruit or whatever it is. And of course, as you're tending to these seeds, right, as you're tending to them, watering them, taking out the weeds, that intention that you set when you were planting your seeds, and then kind of that reminder when you're interacting with your garden, with your plants, will energetically ground your intentions into the fruitfulness, into coming into reality. So yes, hopefully seeds and plants that have a little bit of love and a little bit of extra TLC are going to maybe grow healthier and more, be more fruitful. But then also you can use just that as almost a metaphor or as an example in the physical world for these more intangible things that you're wanting to bring about into your reality. So you have about you've got 5 days. You've got 5 days to get this planned. I've been collecting seeds. I'm kind of getting everything ready because I don't really want to get my garden started until the spring equinox. Now, like in East Tennessee, we might still get some frost, some little cold snaps. I'm really hoping we don't get any more snow. The snow was fine. It was great, but I don't want any more. But you can even start your seeds indoors with this intention. And then, as you transplant them, just let that process kind of spread out into your garden. So the equinox, March 19th, it is a fantastic time for doing a little magic and then also planting your garden. Okay. Of course, you can check the Farmer's Almanac as well. The Farmer's Almanac will tell you ideal times for planting, watering, and even specific times that are more appropriate for planting plants that are like root vegetables or things that would, flower above ground. And that all has to do with astrology. It's a really, really cool thing, gardening by the moon or gardening by the signs as well. But those old-timey Farmer's Almanac, or if you have like a witch's date book or something, it has all of those correspondences in there, which kind of give you another layer for success when it comes to actually growing things. So you can check into that as well. So we have, it's just checking my phone because apparently somebody had a comment on my phone. So on March 25th, we officially kick off eclipse season. We officially kick it off. We're going to have several eclipses actually the next couple months. March 25th will be our full moon. You can't really have a lunar eclipse during a new moon. I think that we talked about that last week. The new moon, there's really no moon in the sky. So with the full moon, the eclipse, of course, is kind of almost like an accelerated lunar phase. They're amazing to watch, to where, you start with the full moon, and then as the shadow starts to move across, all of a sudden there's, waning all the way down, and then you start to get that waxing energy back. So a lot of people like to use the eclipses for the energy of when you want something to happen in a more speedy manner than it would typically happen, right? It's an acceleration through time, at least in the visual, and it kind of helps us connect to that. And so, although, as we all know, with any kind of astronomical, aka astrological event, moon, whatever, we are going to have kind of an ebb and flow of the energy. We're going to feel it coming to us and kind of flowing out on one side and the other, not just when it is exact, not just when it is happening, but we still can maximize that energy and that focus when the event is truly at its peak of happening. So with the lunar eclipse, it is staying up a little late, but you could, if you wanted to do any kind of work, energetic work, focusing, meditation, magic, whatever it is, it's 12:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the eclipse starts. Now, it doesn't actually reach its fullness to where the moon is as fully eclipsed as it could be, where, it's from our place on the earth. It's not going to be like a full eclipse. It's I think 96%. So it's almost completely covered. Certain parts of the world, it would appear as a full eclipse. But it will be at its peak eclipse at 3:12 a.m., which I know is pretty late or early. So you could start your working even before the eclipse happens, just kind of bottling up that intention for when it does actually happen. But March 25th is when the eclipse happens. And again, this is a lunar eclipse, right? So it's going to be at night. Now, of course, there are some lunar eclipses that happen that would be like our daytime. We just don't really see them, right? But on the other side of the world where it's nighttime, they might see it. It's just how that all works, right? And as you guys have heard me talk about so many times, we have Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology, and then we have Western or tropical astrology calculations, two different systems, not just the only two, but we have two different systems of calculations that I kind of always like to look at. You've probably been hearing that this full moon will be in Libra. Okay. That is with Western or tropical zodiac calculations. Now, if we want to look at the Vedic or the sidereal calculations, the moon will be in Virgo. So, yes, very different energies, but they're neighbors. They're right next to each other in the zodiac wheel. And as I kind of mentioned a little bit ago, how we do feel this kind of slow flowing in and then flowing out of those energies. It's not just like a hard stop as we move between the signs. It's like a rotation on degrees, right? So you may be feeling more of these Libran energies, right? The scales, justice, balance, harmony, love, all of those kinds of archetypal energies. Or you might still be feeling the remnants or the energies of Virgo, Virgo is the sign of the Virgin. I mean, but these are standards. This is purity. This is also focus on health, your body, your sense of organization. And it could kind of be a fusion or a mishmash of both of those. So it's not like you've got to pick one camp and go with it, right? You can kind of ebb and flow in between them or see the alchemy of those two signs together. Virgo is an earth sign, Libra is an air sign. Again, very different, but when we combine earth and air, it could be like, gosh, I don't know, it could be like a whirlwind, right? So there are alchemical ways to also let those energies fuse together that create like their own, almost like their own pseudo element as well. So when we look at Libra, let's start with that, because most people, who use Western astrology and are using kind of really maybe in alignment with that matrix of energy. Again, I mentioned what the archetypal energies of Libra are. Libras are also, being the scales in that balance, is very much focused on the energy of relationship. Cohesive, harmonious relationships. And this could be in your romantic life. This could be in your business life. This could be in families, wherever there is some kind of give and take and partnership. And so this is going to be kind of like, coming to the forefront of your awareness and maybe what is more important, or certain themes that seem to be really popping up in your life experience and your awareness at this time. Now, as we know, eclipses seem to have that energy of time speeding up, right? It's like a whole lunar cycle in just a mere few hours. And so when the eclipse is kind of rushing through that energy, then it can transformatively really, really help you get through maybe a block or an issue that you were stuck on, or something that you're trying to clear, you're trying to heal, you're trying to move past, and you're just like, I'm not getting it, right? I'm feeling that resistance, whether the resistance is in yourself or it's in your environment or whatever it is. So, of course, just an eclipse in general, if there's anything that you're kind of wanting to speed up or move through, move past, whatever, it's a great time for that. But you're more than likely going to really be feeling the more intense illumination of partnership. What makes you feel harmonious, first and foremost, in your own self and your own awareness, but then in your life, and then in all the connections that you have. Now, if you are still feeling more of that Virgo energy, which, the cool thing about sidereal astrology, which is what Vedic astrology basically uses, it means of the stars, it is the exact placement of where the stars are in the sky now. So it's kind of like the present, the very current present energy. So it's like, if that's kind of where you are, then you might be doing a bit of an inventory on like where your blocks are when it comes to sticking to a budget, sticking to a healthy regimen, as far as what you're eating, how you're taking care of your body. And then also kind of like your standards, what is perfect to you? What is this pristine perfection for you? And maybe how that might need to be reconfigured or changed to really be in the energy of who you are now, not who you were 5 years ago, not who you were conditioned to be when you were growing up, and really who you are now. And the interesting thing that I've tried to really kind of conceptualize for myself, but it kind of almost like tried to clarify itself like right now at this moment. Let's just call it a download. Is that these two systems of astrology, and like I said, they're not the only ones, that with Virgo, for example, where the stars will actually be at this alignment. Oh my God, my dogs. At this alignment, at this full moon eclipse, this is the present state of being. This might be something that is in your present awareness or that was in the very recent past. And then with the tropical or Western calculations, we've already kind of rolled into the sign of Libra, and it's kind of like what is to come. So what is kind of like, you feel like the energies are kind of flowing in, or what is going to be present more in your awareness in the very near future. So it's kind of like present and then a little bit of a future view. So why wouldn't you want to tune into both? Why wouldn't you want to say, yeah, let me do a little inventory and make sure that my present is kind of like good and set, and I've processed those lessons or those energies so that I can step into in a more prepared energy of what is getting ready to come down the pipeline. It's kind of cool. It's like a preview, right? So yay for us. We figured out something. Okay. I don't know what is so exciting that would make my dogs bark right now, but apparently it's something. Okay, it's a little quieter. So let us move on to the next thing, which is Mercury retrograde. And we've done many energy updates about Mercury retrograde before. And Mercury retrograde happens a couple times a year. It is not the end of the world, although all the memes in spiritual land of social media would tell you that it is the end of the world. But Mercury, which is the planet, fast-moving planet of communication, mainly communication, but the transmittal of things, words, energies. Also, it's kind of how we get places. It can be travel as well, right? So when Mercury goes retrograde, it is not the end of the world. It is just that Mercury, which is typically, moving in its forward rotation, its forward motion, it stations still. And then it appears to us from our vantage point on Earth that it is actually going backwards. And no, it is not actually going backwards. It is not truly going in reverse, but it is from where we are and then the orbit of Mercury. It appears to us that it is now somehow reeling backwards. And it will do that from April 1st until April 25th. And there is always a shadow period of Mercury retrograde. We are almost stepping into that now. And there will be a shadow period after the retrograde officially ends and it stations direct and then starts to go forward again. But Mercury retrograde is a fantastic time for reviewing things. And it could be reviewing communication. It could be saying, I'm going to clear out all of those emails in my inbox, right? But because the energy is perceived as retrograde, as reverse, there could be a little bit of sluggishness when it comes to communication. So you may have a harder time communicating yourself, or the communication between you and another party may be a little garbled because of the retrograde. You might have thought you sent that email, but sometimes it just disappears out into the ether and you're like, where did it go, right? Blame Mercury retrograde for that. So when you are preparing for Mercury retrograde, it is wonderful to be able to Dot all of your I's and cross your T's. Get everything a little bit more streamlined and in good order so that the pipeline isn't just clogged, number one, but then so that you have kind of done a little bit of potential damage control for when this energy is a little bit more challenging. You might also find that during Mercury retrograde, you have communication or interactions from people that are like from the past, right? A blast from the past. It could just be somebody you haven't heard from in a long time. It could be an old friend. It could be stumbling across a shoebox of old letters that you wrote or that you received a long time ago. It could also be like past partners, romantic partners, but it doesn't have to be that, right? It could be that, but that's kind of a little bit more Venus retrograde, which we are not in right now. So with Mercury retrograde, you could get those revisits from the past, which sometimes is just a reminder. It's nostalgia. It's, just bringing that energy back around, right? It is not advised that you do rekindle those, partnerships or maybe relationships. If it's like an old lover or whatever who comes back, it's probably only coming back to give you a chance to just like revisit in the observing stance, not like, hey, let me dive right back into this, right? It could help maybe remind you of why you're not together. It could be maybe bringing up something that you were at an impasse of being able to really resolve or figure out. So it's a great time for review and for kind of inventory and for possibly healing. It's not a great time for really sealing the deal, right? It's always advised that you don't actually sign contracts during Mercury retrograde. You don't get married. You don't sign a lease, things like that. Now, if it's absolutely necessary, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be cursed necessarily. Okay. But it's that, you trying to buy a house, there's all the paperwork, and it's just like, oh my gosh, one brick wall against the next, against the next. Somebody loses something, somebody has to reschedule. Very typical Mercury retrograde. So it's not that it's a bad time, it's just that it could be especially frustrating because there's just, the friction in kind of in the communication. So keep that in mind with the Mercury retrograde kind of season coming up. It's like 24 days. It's a short retrograde for sure. We'll pretty much be out of the woods by the end of April. So moving on. Let's see. I have notes. That's why I keep looking over here. I have notes. So Venus, the planet of love and harmony and all things delicious and good. Venus is transiting 2 different signs, pretty much from like now or just a few days ago, and then all the way through April. So I just kind of want to address those briefly. Venus is first transiting Pisces and then Aries. Well, that's because the sun's in Pisces and the sun's going to be moving into Aries and all of that. So Venus kind of affecting those signs. So Pisces, let me just kind of back it up here for a second. I'm freaking burning up too. Like I'm so hot right now. I'm like almost sweating. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, frick. Okay. So Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So on the zodiac wheel, Pisces is like the last one before it starts anew in Aries. So we're kind of like right there in the middle of that, right? So Pisces, as we know, it's a water sign. It's kind of that dreamy, flowy sign. It's very imaginative. It is very dreamy, right? The kind of that fantasy world. But when we really, it's not a shallow sign at all. Because Pisces, being the last sign in the zodiac wheel, has actually like collected all of the energies of all the other signs, right? All the elements, all the aspects, all the nuances are kind of almost like accumulated as potential within Pisces. So, although yes, it's kind of dreamy and imaginative, it's like the world is your oyster, right? So with Venus governing love, relationships, health, all of these things, health and like juicy goodness health for sure. We have the ability to dream up what our perfect reality is. in this Piscean energy as within the departments that Venus governs. And so we're in that energy now. And so it's a perfect time to think about what is the best, what is like, if I could like dream big, and take my experience through all of, these life experiences up until this point, what do I really want? What is really inspiring to me? What could I dream up? Right. And then as Venus moves into Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, Aries being ruled by Mars, Aries being a fire sign, it is passion, it is action, it is like divine masculine, like projective energy. Then you take what you've dreamed up and then you put it into action. You apply it. So it's a pretty pivotal time, with that transition from Venus going through Pisces and into Aries, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty exciting. Because then, okay, on the 8th, we have the solar eclipse on the full moon. And the solar eclipse is kind of, it is not as exact for us in East Tennessee. I mean, you could be watching from wherever, right? Don't mean to be like elitist or anything. But in East Tennessee, I know like where I live, the solar eclipse will be like, I think it's 84%. So it's not, I mean, it will be obvious that it is an eclipse unless it's like shitty and rainy out or something. But it's not going to completely in totality cover the sun, the shadow of, will not completely cover the sun. But through the majority of the US, I mean, and I do this because it's like a wave, it goes all the way down. People will see the totality of the eclipse. And it is back to back, right? We've got a full moon eclipse and then lunar eclipse, and then we have the solar eclipse. And the solar eclipse, depending on which astrological, system you're following, will either be in Aries or will be in Pisces. So again, figure out what your dreams are, figure out what your passions are, what you really want to have manifest. Dream big, right? Because with that coming in of that Aries energy, it's just going to be like, all right, boost to the ground, let's go. And this is when we have the new moon. So full moon, solar eclipse is the same day as the new moon. And how a solar eclipse happens is that the moon passes between the earth and the sun. And it's just, doing this, right? That was a great eclipse. Whatever. So it is again speeding up of time. I mean, it's not like time is really speeding up, but we see it with our eyes. We see this phenomenal astronomical event that is happening before our eyes. And of course, watch your eyes, get some good eclipse glasses, and don't burn your eyeballs out actually trying to see the eclipse. Like watch it, but just do the good glasses thing. But it is energetically is a speeding up of time. It is moving through these blocks and getting on the other side of it with like your goals like ready to manifest. So it is such a pivotal energy to be able to really take advantage of and just really like maximize for your fullest potential. And regardless, I mean, you're just like, cool, the eclipse happened, or you're like sleeping, or you're doing all the most amazing and magical stuff ever that you could do. The energies are still going to affect you. People on the other side of the world that are not going to see this solar eclipse, they're still feeling the energies. They're still happening. They're just not visible, right? So you're going to, in one way or the other, feel these energies affecting you. But whether you kind of are also going with the flow of that or fighting it tooth and nail, friction is going to make things a lot more uncomfortable for you. Okay. But if you have at least a little bit of awareness of like why these energies can affect you, what more specific energies are kind of rising up to the top for you to kind of look at and address, and then you can apply it and maximize it to where it's like, okay, cool. I'm taking this and I'm going to try to amplify the positives in my life. Why wouldn't you do that in some way, right? It could be like just lighting a candle. It could be just like being in meditation or observation of this astronomical event, but maximize it if you can, right? Just be outside. Just try to be outside a little bit. That would be better than sleeping it off for sure. Okay. And this is one cool fun fact about the eclipse. As last year in the fall, we started to move towards a new eclipse axis. So basically, like which signs the eclipses happen in shifted. It was Taurus, Scorpio, and then it shifted to Libra and Aries. And so now we are officially in the Libra Aries eclipse axis. And so it's basically like, the eclipse will happen either in Aries or either Libra, which is cool. Libra and Aries are those zodiac equal opposite signs, right? Libra and air sign, Aries a fire sign, almost like divine feminine and divine masculine, ruled by Venus and Mars, right? So they are complementary energies because they are opposite, but they can support each other. And it can be like, oh, you're kind of like sitting in that receptive mode and you really need to get something done. Well, like tap into that Aries energy. You need to kind of cool those fires and, sit in contemplation and receiving those good things that have come in that you've worked so hard for. Then kind of as that in that Aries energy, relax into the Libra energy. So they are very cohesive and work very well together. So now that I've just talked for 30 minutes, maybe that's why I'm so hot. Oh my God. I don't know what it is. I'm burning up. Any questions? Any questions, commentary about all of those notes that you all would like to discuss before we move into intuitive card pulls? And that loud noise was my cards. And tonight I have 3 oracle decks, and 1 tarot deck. And I've shuffled them all, but I would like to just shuffle them a few more times. So any questions, comments, or we'll dive right into the readings. Thank you for being here tonight. Okay. Okay. Cool. No comments. Thanks, guys. No, it's really okay. Man, last week, we did the energy update later. It was around 9. And there was a lot of activity. So I was like, maybe I should change the time, I don't know. 7 o'clock is fine most of the time for me. People can just watch the replay if this live time doesn't work for their schedules. But let me pull a card. Which deck do I start with first? Let's set our intention for the card pulls. Well, what comes to mind to me is with this upcoming season, okay, eclipses, equinox, and eclipses and equinox, to where we can get into alignment, especially if we're feeling out of whack. The really technical term, we're feeling kind of out of whack. We're feeling like things are in an imbalance. We're running on fumes maybe at this point. What can not only first and foremost bring us back into a state of equilibrium, but they can also propel us towards our best life, right? Our highest potential in the very near future. Is that concise enough? I mean, I think that's pretty good. So let's see. We'll see what we get. Oh, thanks. Okay. Sorry, I'll show it to you. Okay, so this card says chaos and conflict. And thanks, cards. So I feel like it did not speak about something when it comes to all these eclipses. And I'll just say it because this card came out. Okay. And I tried to find the list. I found the list. There's this list that was talking about when in history, when there were eclipses in the Aries axis, Libra Aries axis on Earth. Okay. All of these things happened in history that were like not good. So I'm sorry I was being all like lemonade and being like, everything's great. And it is. I mean, make your life great. But we kind of know that there's a lot of upheaval and whatever shittiness going on in the world. And And so there is a potential for more unrest, chaos, and conflict in this eclipse season. And I mean, it just kind of is what it is. The chaos and the conflict is a combination of the old energy, the old paradigm dying and flailing and, being exposed and just needing to be cleared out. And it kind of goes kicking and screaming, right? It's not going to go quietly. Aries is also governed by Mars. It's the god of war. And in its shadow aspect, or negative, it can be freaking aggressive. It can be very much about fighting and about war. Now, there are causes to fight for, right? There are things that are necessary to fight for, to defend yourself, to whatever. So I'm not even saying that like war, well, whatever. But I was going to say war, fighting are like horrible, like all the time. Especially when you're like fighting for your right to party, but fighting for your rights, fighting for what's right, all of that. But because there are like crappy people calling shots, it's like fighting those people, and it's gross. And there's potential for a lot of that. Not just like in April, but kind of kicking it off, then. So what you can do, and we talked about this so much last week, is what you can do is you can first focus on yourself, making sure that your basic needs are lined up and met for you, for your family. And this is like growing some of your own food, making sure you know how to like build a fire, how to, take care of yourself, those kinds of things. And sometimes it's just making a little bit of popcorn and sitting back and going, wow, this is a huge dumpster fire, right? But then sometimes it's having to kind of protect what is yours or keep yourself safe. So just be smart. Be smart. Know that a lot of the things, if it is ugly and chaotic, I mean, it does affect us for sure, but it's a big show. It's a big show. So don't get drawn in too much. Focus on you and your family for sure. Okay. Thank you, cards. Okay. Let's see what else comes up. Oh, but then there's this, right? It's like chaos. This is a zebra that's like becoming not zebra. I don't even know. Chaos, conflict. And then it's like soulmates. Soulmates. Now, I have a funny story about this card. One time I was pulling cards for everyone at this big, I think it was a moon circle. And I laid a card out in front of each person and I went around and did like an individual reading for all of them. And one person had this card. Now, it was kind of dark in there because I like to turn some of the lights down and I had candles and everything. And I flipped this card over for them and I looked at it. And do you know what I saw? Okay. It's actually a really cute card. It's like little snuggly penguins and there's hearts. You know what I saw when I looked at it? A headless penguin and blood. That's what I saw. And I was like, fuck, soulmates. Really? Like, what happened? What happened? So I always think of that story when I see this card. But no, actually, it's a really sweet card. Soulmates, I believe that this is really speaking to the energy of Libra and Aries, and the energy of that duality, divine feminine, divine masculine, of you be you excel at who you are, your strengths, your expertise, and then relax into that so that your partner can excel at what they're good at. And like the mystical, magical part is that your puzzle pieces, right? And now this could be romantically, this could be with your BFF, this could be with a business partner, but this is saying like, trust the process of that other party, like bringing it, being in their essence and their energy. And what you need to focus on is being the best version of you and you bringing that to the table. Sometimes that's inspiring for other people to be around, but really that's your responsibility, is being you. Now, another thing about soulmates, and this is an oracle deck here, it's not tarot, but it could be like the Lover's card. It could be like Two of Cups, but there's this energy of duality, right? As far as balance, though, one side or the other. And so you always want to work on or relax into divine union and harmony within yourself first. So if you're conflicted or you're not really sure who you are or what you have to offer, right? What you can bring to the table, then how are you going to know like what you even want and anything external from you in the outside world, in your life, in your job, in your love life, whatever it is? How are you going to truly know? So again, bring it back, work on that harmonizing and balance within yourself. And then it is miraculous what you will see manifest in your physical reality, in your relationships, in your interactions, and that coupling with other people and situations. Okay. Thank you. That's a good message. Let me pick from another deck. Let's just go ahead and pull some tarot. Ace of Wands. I think we got this last time I pulled cards. Queen of Cups. Did I get these last time? One more time. You're like, I don't know. God. What is this? 5 of Cups. Let's pull one more. I kind of don't like 5 of Cups. Queen of Pentacles. 2 queens. Yes, queen. Okay. So we'll go over these one at a time. Quickly. I'm freaking burning up. I'm like having a hot flash or something. Okay. Ace of Wands. What new things are you inspired about? Perfect time. And we're talking, we set our intention with, what do we need to focus on? What energies do we want to kind of like, bring into not only our awareness, but kind of like, set into motion, right? With this eclipse push, with this energy. Ace of Wands would be like, what do you want to grow in your life? Is it more money? Is it a sense of peace? Is it a sense of harmony? Whatever it is, but this is a fresh start. This is new, fresh energy, which is all in alignment with Pisces to Aries, right? End of one zodiac cycle, starting the next. Spring. Oh my gosh. Don't you feel great? Like looking outside and seeing these little green starts and flowers. I mean, I feel good. I hope it makes you feel good because I always feel like I am finally coming alive after being, in hibernation all winter. So fresh starts for sure. Now, I'm just let's look at this one because I said I didn't like it. I mean, there's a time and place for everything. 5 of Cups. Okay. I know these cards are holographic, so it's kind of weird with the reflection. But this is to me like almost like being stuck in the past. Cups, our relationships, our emotional self. So this dude is like forlorn and sad because 3 cups, oh, my poor 3 cups have spilled. Well, look, dude, behind you, there are still 2 cups that are standing up. It's enough for you and somebody else, but all you're doing is going, oh, my spilled milk over here, right? So yes, I mean, you can be sad about something that didn't work out, hard lessons that you learned in the past, especially regarding love, relationships. It could be family, any of that. But the thing is like, those are freaking spilled. It's kind of a desert and it's probably already evaporated. You're not going to get that back. But you know what? You got 2 cups right there behind you. Don't be a douchebag and like step up and like, tip them over because you're not going to have any cups. But right now you got 2, 1 for each hand. So cut your losses and know that you still have more to propel you along. And then look, can you see? I was doing this backwards right here. What is that? That's a river that has water in it. So if he was not so busy like crying over his spilled milk, he could just be like, okay, cool. So I'm just going to go fill these other cups up. Then I got 5. It's all about perspective, right? Maybe you don't need 5 cups. I don't know. But anyway, yes, there's a time and a place for accepting, acknowledging what you've learned, what hasn't worked out, but don't let that hold you back. You still have you have the essence of what you really needed to learn from that to move you on to greener pastures for sure. Now, 2 queens stepping into this energy here. We have Queen of Cups, emotions. Oh, we did get this last time. No, wait, I showed this to somebody else. This was a private reading I did for somebody. Sorry, just funny things. Let me see if I can. This is hilarious. See if I can. Okay. See what she's holding? It's like I mean, it's a cup, right? It's like this really fancy vessel. It looks like a weird guy. That's what I noticed in that reading. He's like this little smarmy, smart ass. Hello, I'm a cup. I don't know. He's hilarious. He's very distracting to me. He's not really supposed to be the main focus in this card. It's her. Look at her. She's got her crown on. She's on her throne looking over the water. This is the embodiment of ruling your emotions. Being being in charge of your emotions, but it's also like being in the energy is like my cups are full. My cups are so full they have a mustache on them. But the Queen of Cups is kind of like, being in that energy, like you have received this emotional fulfillment, love, whatever it is. Queen of Pentacles is she's sitting on a throne because she's a queen and she's got a huge ass pentacle on her lap. It's huge. It's golden. She has little bunny rabbits running around in the foreground. There are roses, and this is very much a it's fertility in the sense of you planted your seeds, you have gathered your harvest, and you're like, I did well. I've got some abundance here, right? And there is an energy of appreciation and gratitude with both of these cards too. So I feel that with all of these cards together, it's almost like, what do you want to focus on? Right? Are you focusing on, I'm inspired, I have this new energy, I'm ready for growth, I'm ready for change. I'm going to go with that. I might not even know what my goals are. Okay, that's okay. Or am I going to stay stuck in the past, stuck kind of mourning things that are fully unaccessible to me because it is literally in the past. It's not in the present. I can't go back. So let's kind of reconcile this and let's take what we need and then move forward, because this is where we're going. Do you want love? Do you want money? Do you want both? I would say both. I would like both, please. And is this where you're working towards? Is this what you want? Yeah, why not? Right? Go big or go home. All right, let's see what else we got. The orca. I don't know if someone that I did a reading for recently, I pulled this card too. So maybe this was a message for the collective as well. So the orca. Orcas are black and white. They are a sign of balance. Orcas were like, oh, they're so beautiful, and they're they live in pods, and they're these mammals and all that, but they are scary. They are scary. I mean, they will kill a person. They are fierce hunters, even as cute and tubby as they look. So, I'm not saying that the mer person or the person who is kind of reclining here should be terrified of the orcas, but I feel like this is saying, this card is cool too, because look at, like, this is upright, obviously, right? But it's kind of like you could turn it either way. See what I'm saying? This to me is really speaking to the subconscious. I think that if you could pay attention to what you're really fearful of, bringing it up to the surface more, it's not going to have as much. It's not going to have as much control over you. I believe that this is kind of speaking to a bit of the chaos in the world. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're unsure about, and it's like wild when stuff just kind of breaks down in society or people act a fool and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it can be very unsettling and scary, but just watching the news and just getting more upset or more scared maybe you're aware, but it's not going to help you. Do things that actually are practical ways to survive and thrive, right? And also, you could be cute and cuddly, but you can also be a badass and know how to, like, provide for yourself and defend yourself. That's what I get from this card. So, okay. I brought this oracle deck. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that, I don't know. It's like a boost your intuition, psychic something oracle card deck. I don't know. We'll see if anything comes through that makes sense. Calling cards from heaven. Okay, it's not too bad. It has this crazy write-up on the back, which I'm not going to really read much of. This is speaking, though, too, which is actually relevant. I mean, I don't mean to say this is a crappy deck. Okay, calling cards from heaven. This is talking about your ancestors. This is talking about the support that you have access to that may not be tangible, that may not be, hey, I'm just going to give you a phone call, but it's still there. And what I want to say about this card is that there may be significant loved ones in your life that are no longer here. And because they are part of the collective consciousness and the collective energy, even on a more like, kind of like quantum energetic way of looking at things, you have access to their wisdom, to their love, to their personality, their memories as a human, all of that through that vessel of the collective consciousness. So if you're ever feeling lonely, if you're ever feeling like, man, I just wish I could get some of their like advice, or, it just would have been so good to kind of see how they saw this stuff. You can, through meditation, through automatic writing, maybe in your dreams, through divination like tarot, whatever, you can reach out to them, right? To that essence of who they are. Now, another part of this message that really kind of comes into my intuitive awareness is the ancestral memory. Let's just say that the focal point is like my grandmother, right? My grandmother passed away a couple of years ago. Well, she had her own personality. She had her own wisdom. She had her own life experience, right? And not disregarding that, because she knew a lot of stuff, right? But there's also ancestral memory that was stored in her DNA, that she had received just through genetics of memories, experiences, lessons that she got from her parents, her grandparents, like way, way back, right? Well, whose DNA do I have? I have my grandmother's DNA, right? All of that wisdom and all of that, all those experiences are in me, are in my genes, in my DNA. It's stored in me, even if I didn't actually experience all those things in this lifetime. So it's pretty much saying like, you have so much more wisdom and experience than you give yourself credit for, because this information may be dormant or may be stored in the subconscious or the unconscious, but it is still there. And it could be like, where did I know that? Or why does this thing resonate with me? And I've never been to this place before. I've never experienced this song, but oh my gosh, it speaks to me. Yeah, it could be a past life. I mean, it could be all that stuff too. But speaking just to your ancestral memories, all of that is stored for you to have access to. It is like a library, right? Now there's some shitty stuff there too. There's like trauma, there's karma, there's like, it's everything, right? But the bad things, that maybe are not so pleasant, well, they experienced those things maybe, and we didn't have to, because we had that experience somewhere within our awareness, so we would have the depth of that knowing so that we could maybe experience the other side of the coin in this lifetime, right? They took one for the team. So when you are able to allow yourself to like embody all of that wisdom, and it's not like you have to know all the facts and figures, but just know that your ancestors for generations and generations and generations, I mean, survived long enough for you to be here, right? And so there is a wealth of knowledge and experiences that are now present with you. And then also that maybe you've passed on to your future generations, if you have kids or grandkids or whatever it is. So, it's a little bit of like, if you feel really lonely or unsupported, or that nobody gets you, or you're in this by yourself, you do kind of have this energetic support team out there. But then it's also, I feel like it's just really like accessing in the depths that wisdom and that knowledge that no, maybe you didn't experience it in this lifetime, but a whole lot of other people did. I mean, we've had a depression before, we've had wars, we've had, and I don't mean just the bad shit, but I'm just saying like starving and like famines and all the stuff people have gone through on this planet, and somehow we're still freaking here, right? We have an amazing spirit. So to be where you are now and to be on this planet at this time, at this juncture with all this stuff going on, like you've got this more than you might think that you do. So feel supported and bolstered and maybe a little more prepared than you realize that you are, for sure. All right. That's pretty good. I feel good about that. And I'm also not like burning up now. That was intense. Let me see if there's anything else I should pull. I feel like I should pull one more animal card. Let's see. And also my shirt, I don't know if you can see this. It says village. I have to stand up. Village. Oh my God. Sea witch. It says sea witch. Yeah, you can barely see it. It says village sea witch because that's what I am. I'm the village sea witch, even though we don't have a sea around here. Okay, let's see. Snake. Some people are terrified of snakes. I know one person who's terrified of snakes. It's not me. Snakes. The snake, it looks like it is wrapped around. At first I thought an egg, but it looks like a heart. And it's really neither one of those things. It's like a root ball and a plant coming out of the top of it. But there are actually two snakes as I look at this. There's one here, and then I'm doing this backwards. One here and one here. Okay, so snakes to me always represent transformation. They are transformation. They shed their skin, and it is a layer of their skin, right, that they shed to reemerge into that new energy. And so it's not like a snake's skin that would actually be like its whole hide, right, after it dies. But this is just one layer that comes off. And so there is a transformative energy, but it is still maintaining the essence of who you are and what you are. It's not saying I'm morphing into a completely different creature. It's not saying that I have one form and then I am moving into a completely other energy being, whatever it is. No, you're fresh and new and shiny and clean. And snakes, when they are getting ready to shed, they get sluggish. They don't breed. They don't eat. They just, they're just like, I'm not doing much. I don't feel so great. And then they finally shed. And then, they scoot out of that old, outworn, outgrown skin. And they're like, I'm freaking hungry. I want to make babies. And I'm ready to live my best life. And they go through this over and over again, right? Thank you. So transformation is inevitable. Change, evolution, growth, it is part of being human, right? So the more you fight it, just the more uncomfortable it is. And so, yes, there's a time to kind of be still, to kind of prepare for that transformation, but it is going to happen regardless. So you might as well say, well, here's this energy again. This is what I'm coming into. And I know when I get through this and when I get on the other side of it, it's going to be fresh energy. I'm going to feel like more comfortable in my own skin, and I am going to be ready to, do this next leg of the journey, this next experience that I'm here to have. So although snake and people can be very terrified of snakes, because of course, they're predators, they can be most of them are, they can be deadly, we're told to be careful about them. Of course, there's all the Christian and religious, negative connotations as well. There's very much a transformative energy about snake. So, and I think too, and I don't even know where I put this card. Oh, I put it right here. Looking at this with me saying, is it an egg? Is it a heart? Is it a plant? What is this that the snake is coiled around? Well, it's all of those things. It could be potential. It could be, your emotional self, your lessons, or, all the energies we've been talking about today, right? Spring, equinoxes, change, growth, and all of that. So this is really embodying all of that energy. And so, and like I said, what keeps kind of coming to mind to me is, and we didn't like get the Tower card. We didn't pull it. I mean, maybe it's like the next one in the deck. I don't know. But change is inevitable. It's growth. We came here to have experiences. And when we say, no, I am only comfortable with things staying exactly the same, which it's not possible. It doesn't happen that way, right? Or I just want to like be static and still. Well, then I'm not saying this that way. You might die. I mean, that's the ultimate escape. And I'm not telling anybody to do that. I'm just saying you came here to live and to have experiences, and there's no going back, and there's no like halting change. So the more that you relax into that, and the more that you say, all right, I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to be open to this, then it's actually fun, right? It's actually fun. And we start moving into the direction of and maximizing our potential of what we came here to experience. So don't wear yourself out and swim against the freaking flow. Turn the other direction as the water is going, and not only swim in the river in the direction the water is flowing, merge with the river and become the river. It's probably much more fun. All right. So any comments other than that I'm fantastic? Any comments, questions, anything before we close out? Let me see if I got the Tower. No, just more wands. Lots of wands today. And I'm not going to waste my time with that. Any more questions or comments, whatever? Cool. All right. I kept it just at an hour. Go me. Sometimes I get really long-winded. But I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to let it upload onto YouTube. And I guess I will see you all next week. I hope you enjoyed my guided meditation that I posted. That was from our live guided meditation that I do on Thursday nights. And I uploaded like the first portion of it on YouTube and then the full one on Patreon. So in case you guys want to like link up on my Patreon, it's like $5 a month. Then you can have access to like full guided meditations and all of that. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Survival dirt bikes. Yeah, like this will be, I mean, within the next few minutes, it will be reposted. It will be under the live tab, but you can watch this or any other energy updates that I've done live. You can watch them on there too. So thank you so much, you guys. Hope you have a good night. Happy eclipse season, and I will see you next week. Okay. Bye.